Speculation attached to Jimmy Butler and this Miami Heat team seems like it is never going to go away. Now we have brand new information and reports from Shams, as well as comments from Pat Riley specifically addressing this entire idea. I'm here to break down all the bits and pieces on this episode of Heat Digest. So let's get to it and break down the Jimmy Butler madness as it continues to go on. It seems like we do not have a day in the NBA world where Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat are not at the forefront of all of the speculation as the trade deadline quickly approaches just a month and a half away. Now, we've heard multiple reports, not only just this season, but going back into last offseason surrounding Jimmy Butler and whether or not he's going to be traded or moved from this Miami Heat team. That has not happened yet, and we've had this conversation multiple times on this channel. I do not believe it's going to happen because it has not happened already. And what do I mean by that? Well, if Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra and the rest of this Miami Heat organization were going to go out and move someone as substantial and as impactful as Jimmy Butler, it would have been done in the offseason, because if you move someone like Jimmy Butler, you're bringing back a lot of assets, whether it be talent ready to play in the league now, draft picks, young guys ready to really be built around and really grow in your organization. And that did not happen, obviously, as Pat Riley was on the record saying, I enjoyed the roster that we had at the end of last season. Obviously, we went out and acquired the guys that in the draft and post-draft and the two-way contracts, and then obviously Alec Burks in free agency. And besides that, he was okay with this roster as currently constructed because he had faith in this roster to make a big push, not only through the regular season, but into the postseason. Now, obviously, as of right now, we're sitting at 14-13. It has been shaky to say the least, but we have brand new reports saying that from Shams saying that Jimmy Butler is going to be on the way out of Miami. Now, it started with this report saying that Jimmy Butler prefers to be traded before the NBA trade deadline on February 6th. Apparently before, obviously, playing the rest of the season for the Miami Heat, and then going to the offseason and as a free agent and possibly accepting or declining that player option that we've highlighted on this channel so many times, as again, this is the final year of Jimmy Butler's contract if he decides to opt out of it. Now, he goes into this offseason with a player option. He can obviously opt in, come back to the Miami Heat, and play for one final year under this contract for $52 million in that third and final year. Or he can opt out and decline the money and test free agency and really just cause a bidding war to create more value for someone in Jimmy Butler who still has a lot of value. But again, that is not what we're talking about. We're discussing this quote from Shams. Now, obviously, we saw the ESPN post, again, that Shams then reposted because it was highlighting and citing him in a exchange in a quote that he had, highlighting the fact that apparently Jimmy Butler wants to be out of Miami before the trade deadline and would rather to be traded in teams like the Warriors as well as the Houston Rockets and the Phoenix Suns are all in contention to hopefully land someone like Jimmy Butler as soon as the NBA trade deadline this season. Now, again, you don't have to hear me say I do not believe this is going to happen because, again, I just said it before. I've reiterated it over and over again in these Heat Digest videos about Jimmy Butler and the lack of idea and faith in the idea that they are going to move him at any point in the middle of a competitive basketball season. By no means is this season over. We are 14-13. The Eastern Conference is a shit show. It's a train wreck, whatever you would like to address it as. It is not very good. The top two teams are the Cavs and the Celtics. Obviously, they have been rolling since the ball was initially tipped off on game one just a month and a half ago, now 2 months ago. It seems like those two teams are going to be the clear two top teams in the Eastern Conference, and 3 through 8 are up for grabs. And it seems like if the Miami Heat can put a few wins together, which again seems impossible, as we win 3, we lose 3 in a row, it's just back and forth. We cannot consistently be consistent, and that is unfortunate, but I have faith in players that we have currently on this roster in Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, and the list goes on, as well as Eric Spoelstra and the rest of the guys behind closed doors to really get us off on the right foot. Now, these are our next 6 games, 3 on the road, 3 at home before a 6-game road stand. Again, this is going to be a very daunting part of the schedule due to the mandatoriness to travel. Obviously, we're going to have 3 games on the road before coming back home and then going on the road for, again, a long 6-game road stand to take us into the All-Star break. It's going to be very interesting. These teams are very beatable in the sense that obviously Orlando is without Paulo, they're without Franz. That is a team we should beat up on. We just lost to them after, I'm not even going to highlight it in depth because it'll just make me upset. But if you did not see that game, we were dominating, and just like we should have been. And then the Orlando Magic went on a disastrous run for this Miami Heat team. We only scored 8 points in the final quarter of basketball, and we ended up blowing a win that we absolutely had locked up in the bag. And again, very, very hard to watch. But again, Orlando, Atlanta, a very beatable team. Houston is young and promising, a team that we could beat. We absolutely can beat. On paper, we are probably better than, depending on the momentum in which we're looking at, if they're winning a lot, if not. And then New Orleans, Indiana, and Utah, all of these games are very winnable for this Heat team. And if we can get back on the right path, I think these Jimmy Butler conversations and all the speculation really is going to die down. Right now, we're sitting at just above 500, and because of the lack of winning and because of the lack of really prettiness in the success and the lack thereof that we're having this season, I feel like that is why it is so vocal, and we really are at the forefront of all of the trade discussions through this point of the season. Now, we're going to highlight this because I think this is a huge piece of the puzzle. Now, whether or not Shams is accurate in the things he was reporting, that is up to you to decide. Now, Shams is very good at what he does. He is now known as the #1 insider in the game of basketball surrounding the NBA specifically due to the departure of Woj. As we all know, Woj was the best at his job. There's no way around it. He was the top dog for the longest time. He decided to go elsewhere and do another profession. Cheers to him. But now Shams is that guy. And because of those comments, we've seen in the past with these Jimmy Butler speculations in these conversations, we've seen not players, but people in the agent of Jimmy Butler come out and rebuttal to Shams and say, you're full of shit. You're crazy. This is not true. This is not accurate. I didn't have time for you when you initially posted this, but I have time today, and I'm not going to let you continuously push a false narrative about Jimmy Butler, his client, someone that he is an agent for, trying to take care of all of the financial and all of the contractual decisions and really hardships that they have to go through in order to suit up and play for these organizations. Now, good on Lee for going out and protecting one of his guys in Jimmy Butler like this and not making Jimmy Butler come out and make these actual comments himself. But again, it leaves us to question where he's getting these ideas from. And again, from this newest comment from Shams, where he's saying he would rather be traded before the NBA trade deadline than play the rest of the season with Miami, Pat Riley, the one and only, the Godfather, has now come out and addressed them directly. Now the Miami Heat social media Twitter page went out and posted this, but again, statements from Pat Riley as he goes on to say, and I quote, "We usually don't comment on rumors, but all of this speculation has become a distraction to the team and is not fair to the players and coaches. Therefore, we will make it clear. We are not trading Jimmy Butler." And that is the end of the quote from the one and only Pat Riley. Obviously, he is the guy in Miami. When you want players moved and players are being moved and there's transactional decisions being made, it's Pat Riley. He's at the helm of all of that. Obviously, there's a bunch of other pieces, but it really feels like at the forefront on the actual face value of things, it feels like Pat Riley is the one actually pulling the strings and feels like he has the biggest really hand in the pot, if so to say. But again, this is huge that Pat Riley said, F this. I'm not doing this anymore. We're not going to let this narrative continuously be pushed, whether it be by Shams or other reporters surrounding the Miami Heat, specifically as beat writers or just analysts and insiders surrounding the game of basketball overall. It's not healthy for the team. Obviously, it's hard to get wins in the National Basketball Association. We are playing other elite level talent in the game of basketball. There are other NBA talents, obviously. We need to be able to be focused. We need to be able to not worry about whether or not this guy is going to be there tomorrow on the active roster. Now, I will say Jimmy Butler will not be active tonight as he's to return to competition. Reconditioning has been ruled out for tonight's game versus the Magic. So we will be empty-handed in the sense of having Jimmy Butler going into this game that is very, very heavy in the sense that we cannot drop another game to a very short-handed Orlando Magic team that is obviously above us in the conference as well as in the division standings. We need to be able to beat up on these teams, especially in these positions. For Jimmy Butler to have to go through this, it's very interesting. But again, I'm going to quickly highlight it as we did jump around there to this quote from NBA Central saying, Jimmy Butler's agent, Bernie Lee, has declined to comment on Shams' latest reports regarding Jimmy Butler per Anthony Chang. As we all know, he's a beat writer for the Miami Heat. As he goes on to say in his article, and I quote, Butler's relationship with the team has become somewhat strained in recent months. Butler's agent Bernie Lee has declined to comment on ESPN's latest report. A source who has spoken to multiple teams told the Miami Heat that Butler is considered available on the trade market. Butler was non-committal when asked earlier this month if he wants to remain with the Heat. I will say that, well, that's the end of the quote. I will say that last sentence where Jimmy Butler was non-committal, it's just because he didn't say, I want to be signed here, go get me this contract, I will play here until I die. That's not the answer we got, and because of that, he was non-committal. He was not out here saying, I want to leave Miami, I don't like it in Miami. That was not anywhere close to the answer that we were getting from Jimmy Butler. It was simply that I'm here to play basketball. All this drama is crazy. You guys keep talking about me. There's no such thing as bad publicity, but again, I'm just here to play basketball, man. This outside noise is just outside noise, and because of that, it was labeled as non-committal. But again, this is huge that Bernie Lee has decided to not have a conversation and not to speak out defending Jimmy Butler once again. I think it may be because of Pat Riley's comments coming out and defending not only Bernie Lee, but as well as his own player in Jimmy Butler. It seems good to have Pat Riley come out and have this conversation, come out and address this on the point. So there is not this constant narrative constantly surrounding this Miami Heat team, and the idea that Jimmy Butler and the rest of this really foundation of this team is going to be broken up and really just renewed, if you will, and redefined, if you will. Moving Jimmy Butler would do that. It would be a blockbuster move for any of the teams involved with that move. I hope, again, that I am right in saying that. It hasn't happened yet, and because of that, it's not going to happen. That will be it for this episode of Heat Digest. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one.